Hello, the purpose of this screencast is to teach you how to take all your raw notes, which are on 5 separate Google Docs, and place them onto one Google Doc. And that one Google Doc will be shared between you and your partner. So first of all, you're looking on the Minnesota Interviews page right now, which is where you got this screencast from, but you're going to find Organize and Write. And under Organize and Write, you have the Combined Notes Organizer. That is this document right here. So this walks you through the process. Right now you're watching the screencast. You need to take 5 notes on this screencast just to prove to me that you watched it and that you remember a couple things that I said, so you can go into class tomorrow and know what to do. Number 2. You and your partner are going to compare notes that you gathered. You're going to see there's probably a lot of overlap. So you only need to include the one note from one of you. You don't want to have 2 sets of notes that are the same information. 3, you're going to want to organize any notes that you then take from your raw notes into 5 categories: background, major accomplishments, connection to Minnesota, big events during the person's life, and legacy. As I'm saying this, you're probably thinking, oh yeah, I have notes that fall into these different categories. Finally, and I've already said this before, remove any duplicates or unnecessary facts. This is where you and your partner are making a decision. This is an important fact. This is not a very important fact. This is, oh, that's interesting, versus, oh, this needs to be there. Okay? So you need to have a conversation with your partner about whether or not a note should end up in this Combined Notes Organizer. When you open up your Combined Notes Organizer, it's going to look a little bit like this. I've already done a little bit of work on here, so I'm going to get rid of that now, and while I show you how to work it. And it has all the different categories: background story, major accomplishments, how did the person impact Minnesota, big events during the person's life, and their legacy, or what the person's known for. How did they impact history? You're going to be dividing all your raw notes into these 5 categories. You might notice that some of your notes don't really fit. So I'm going to do an example for you. Because I'm doing Dred Scott, I'm going to go back to my notes 1, my source 1, because I'm going to start there. And if I open that up, it takes me to this. These are my notes on Dred Scott's life from that website that I did an example from PBS. And it's got notes on his life as well as the court case. And so when I look at my notes, I'm going to go through my notes here and see which ones are probably usable, which ones aren't. I'm going to talk to my partner and make sure that we don't have any overlap. And then while we're doing this process, we're going to be talking about what category each note should go into. So I look at this first one, 1847, Dred Scott's fight for freedom begins. I'm going to Command-C, copy that. I'm going to go here. Background, is it major accomplishments? Is this how he impacted Minnesota? Is this a big event from his life or legacy? Really, if it's about the court case, that's a major accomplishment. That's the big thing from Dred Scott's life. So I'm going to paste it right there. If my partner has the same note, he or she doesn't need to place it in here. Remember, you're sharing a Google Doc. Then I go back to the next one. It says 1857, case goes before the Supreme Court. Well, that's again major accomplishments, because that's the big thing from Dred Scott's life. I see the topic has changed a little bit. Dred Scott, born around 1800 in Virginia. I'm going to copy this. This one, it's not impacting Minnesota, is more to do with background story, birth, childhood, education, family, death, etc. So I place it in there because it's born, it has to do with birth. Okay. Next one. His master when he was born was Peter Blow. They lived in Virginia and Alabama. Again, this is background information, so I'm going to put it in this category. Then we have Dred Scott bought by Army surgeon Dr. John Emerson. They moved to Illinois. Again, this doesn't belong in his major accomplishments. It's not how he impacted Minnesota. It's not even there yet, really. It's not a big event that's surrounding the person's life, and it's certainly not legacy. It's, again, background. Then I got one that's a little different. It says, court decision influenced the nomination of Abraham Lincoln. It also started the Civil War. That's an impact of his major accomplishment. So I could put it in here in his major accomplishment, but it would probably make more sense to actually put it in here, in his legacy, because it impacted the nomination of Abraham Lincoln a couple years later. So I'm going to place it in there. Also, when I start getting notes on that the Dred Scott decision, which made the South and the North so enraged, one side in favor, one side against, that caused the tension between the two sides and caused the Civil War. That would go in this box too. So you see I'm teasing through all my notes from my various note-taking forms and just copy-pasting them into this single document which I have shared with my partner. By the end of it, you're going to have tons of notes in these categories, but you're going to notice that maybe some categories don't have as many as others. That is an opportunity to take more notes to buff up or add notes to that section, because you want all of these to have a substantial amount of notes in them. Okay, thank you for watching.